This is the second day after the coup of the right wing against our country. And I am reading now from my teleprompter. I always like to be honest with you folks. It is coming out now, one of the reasons the birther monster won our elections. The millennials fundamentally stayed away from the polls. They made a fatal mistake. Especially in these times when the right wing has been busily at work disenfranchising voters and violating constitutional guarantees such as a woman's right to choose. But I don't blame them, because every new generation depends on the older to help to guide it. We, the baby bunglers, have failed miserably at this, and we are all going to suffer. I was a public school teacher for 28 years and taught the up-and-coming millennials. I can't say it was always pleasant. In fact, I experienced such conflict during my teaching career, I am surprised that I even survived it. Yet for the most part, I am fond of the millennials and had also a good time teaching them and enjoying their senses of humor and their willingness to discuss and to debate if they were engaged and respected. Sadly, their parents for the most part were absent or busy working. The result, many students came to school literally unprepared socially and academically to deal with study. Many were never taught basic social skills, to respect others. When I was going to school, on the other hand, the older generation that raised us were pretty much authoritarian. They expected us to respect all adults no matter what. Okay? And if we just obeyed, we paid for it. Like, I'll never forget this time when I was in the 5th grade and this enemy of mine, this bully, stood up and told the teacher to shut up. I never heard that before in my entire life. He was immediately rushed so fast out of the classroom that I thought they were going to pull his arms off. Subsequently, he never dared say that to a teacher again. Now contrast this with the times I was actively teaching between 1978 and 2009. I can't even count how many times I was verbally abused by students. But I stood the test as much as I could and I have regrets that I couldn't do more. The students I was working with were not being raised, and more was expected from me, not from them, not from their parents. Simply and sadly, the millennials are ultimately the neglected generation. We baby bunglers, and we certainly did bungle our babies, were derelict at teaching our children common social skills. We were not active enough in their schooling and did not demand that they hit the books before going out with friends. We allowed this generation to gorge itself on reality TV, video games, and social networking, where they learn more about being ignorant than about learning the true nature of our world. I realize that I may be sounding too general about this generation, and I don't mean to. In fact, we are looking at a group of youngsters who are far more sophisticated and far more engaged than any of us could imagine. They can handle computers and other media as if they were born to it. And they know bullshit when they see it. And this was partially the reason why they stayed away from the polls in droves for this crucial election. They did not want Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump. The right-wing racists and white plantation owners, on the other hand, wanted Trump. Those cowboy hat-wearing idiots wanted him too. And they made sure to get out to vote. The millennials, on the other hand, wanted Bernie Sanders as I did. I got out to vote for Hillary no matter what, because I knew what we were up against. But the millennials, additionally, they could not countenance the rules that allowed Hillary Clinton to be a candidate instead. I absolutely understand where they are coming from. Both political parties are corrupted by dark money and are at the bidding of corporations which are countries in themselves with all the hidden agendas thereof. The millennials, bereft of a civics education and a knowledge of American history, stayed home in protest and cut off their young noses despite their wonderfully young faces. I can't be angry at them. I can't blame them for not being interested. The schools that we bunglers created were merely and simply a place that you come to eat. If I had been a chef or a head waiter in my school instead of a teacher, I may have been even more successful in imparting important knowledge. Any kind. When I went to secondary school, both junior and senior high school, we had student elections, and we put out and printed our own newspapers. The shop classes looked real with plenty of supplies. Wood shops with wood, electric shops with electric, metal with metal, auto shops with autos. The science labs were stocked and looked like they should, like a real science lab should. The schools of my parents reflected everything about the society in those days, and I will always be grateful to them for the preparation they gave me so I could deal with the crazy world we live in. And it's too bad that we didn't do the same thing for the millennials. The bunglers were too busy trying to fit their fat asses into Levi's blue jeans that would accommodate their new girth. We handed our children computers and video games and said, have at it. And then we went to work or out to play in our sports utility vehicles, forgetting the ideals we allegedly stood for in the turbulent 1960s. Hypocrites all. Finally, we showed the millennials just how hypocritical we are, really how hypocritical we are. We showed them concretely by putting up the hope of a Bernie Sanders, only to have all these hopes dashed to pieces. They have to have him allowed to be pulled down by phony corporate politics. If there's anything wrong with our world today, it is on us bunglers now. As more and more the greatest generation dies off, we bunglers are more and more taking our place as the seniors of our world. Sadly, we've been absent and derelict in our duty to teach the younger generation the importance of progressivism, to give them the foundation on which they can stand and survive and build a humane world. We have given the millennials little or none. We have given them shallow over depth, the insipid over the dynamic, and they showed their outrage at their disenfranchisement by staying home by the thousands and refusing to vote in the most important election in our recent history. This is on us, the incompetent baby boomers, whether we like it or not. Durag wisdom, please be safe.